everybody. We're back with another episode of Starrcast, digging deeper into the wellness world. We've been talking about wellness retreats quite a lot lately, been in the news a lot lately, and I decided it would be nice to kind of go back in time, if you will, to what is probably the very first wellness retreat I ever heard of. When I started going to Hong Kong to teach classes in, I guess, the early aughts, I started hearing about this place called Chiva-Som. And I was
Mm.
like, what the heck is Chiva-Som? So come to know that it was really one of the first destination wellness retreats in the world, was opened by a Thai businessman, Bonchu Rojastinian. I'm probably botching up his name. Um, in 1993, he demolished his beach house in the town of Hua Hin in Thailand to build this retreat, which opened in 1995. And he had been to health farms in Europe and decided he wanted this in Asia. So amazing foresight of him to do that. We are joined today by Dr. Jason Culp, who is a naturopathic doctor. He is the Director of Research and Development for Chiva-Som International and also a certified nutrition specialist. We are fortunate that it's a holiday today in Thailand. Jason was able to take a few minutes out to join us. So thanks for being with us, Jason.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
So you and I met just recently at the Spa China Summit, and I'll loop back to that in our chat, but I was very impressed by your presentation. And of course, everything about Chiva-Som has always
Mm.
been for the top. It's like the cream of the top of what's offered in the world of wellness retreats. Um, you grew up in the US and
Yeah,
went to Bastyr, one of the, most highly regarded globally naturopathic institutions, to become a naturopathic doctor. But I'd love to hear
sure.
a little bit about what led you down that path, Jason. From what age did you decide that naturopathy was your pathway forward?
Sure. And I'll try to keep it brief because I can go off on tangents on my journey very often. So I'll try to keep it very succinct. But when I was a kid, I basically lived off of sugar and snacks. And so as you
Very
would
healthy.
assume, correct. And so as you would assume, I was not that healthy of a child. I got sick often, sore throats, missed a lot of school. So my parents decided to bring me to a naturopathic physician around the age of, it was either 13 or 14. And I remember walking away from my consultation very impressed. And actually to this day, I don't know why I was so impressed. I think maybe it had to do with the one-on-one interaction and exploring things like health and the possibilities and the control that we have over our choices and how it affects our health. But fast forward to my university, in college, I started to think about, well, what am I going to do for a career? And I was preparing for the MCATs. I was thinking about conventional medicine. I always knew I wanted to do science, and I always knew I wanted to work with people. So I came to a crossroads where I'm deciding, should I do conventional medicine or should I do more the naturalistic approach, pursue a career in naturopathic medicine? What really impressed me about naturopathic medicine was the openness of the field, the ability to practice in ways that's not so standardized and sort of a carbon copy of others. I was able to pursue the things that I loved in the field, modalities like counseling, if I want to go down to nutrition. Nutrition's really what my background is. And so I really explored that. I liked working with people and talking about the psychology behind eating, behind foods. And I had that freedom within the naturopathic field. So I decided to pursue that education more. I went to Bastyr University, which is one of our nation's board certified accredited institutions, trains us to be primary care doctors, very, very rigorous curriculum, helped me to understand health on a deeper level, helped me to understand how to reach out to people and work with them in a more of a natural approach to healthcare as opposed to the disease-centered approach that
Mhm.
many doctors practice in conventional medicine, although that has gotten much better currently. I'm going back 20 years ago. So that is much better now. I think doctors are waking up to this idea of holistic medicine, and it's not just about treating symptoms, but treating
Mhm.
causes. And so I got into the career in that way, and then from there, it just sort of bloomed into this wonderful experience where I get to work with people and help with lifestyle transformations, and then introduced to places like Chiva-Som and able to carry on with my career.
So I'm really interested that you, as a 13-year-old, were taken
Mm,
to this naturopath and you liked it. I mean, so
yeah,
many young boys would have railed against their parents taking them or
yeah,
the issues around the sugar. So you really had it deep in you, that desire to connect. I think that's a sign, right? If you go there and you
yeah,
come out and you're like, hey, that was cool, not why did they make me do that?
yeah.
Good for you for following up on it when the opportunity came. I liked
So
hearing
thank,
about the curriculum at Bastyr. I guess that's because maybe it's more based on Eastern medicine, that it isn't following strict tenets the way maybe a
mm,
Western medicine doctoral program would work.
yeah. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding with naturopathic medicine if you're not involved in the field. I think the first thought that most people have is it's about giving vitamins or giving
Mm,
herbs or more of this, again, more of a symptom approach. You have a sore throat, you take this tea, or if you're feeling tired, you take this vitamin. And that's really those are really just tools that are used within the system of medicine. Naturopathic medicine itself is based on this idea that we address the cause of health issues. And by doing so, we explore what contributes to our health. And that could be anything from having a sit down for 2 hours and talking to people about their lifestyle, the way that they view health, the psychology around that, or it could be doing investigation through laboratory work and
mhm,
diagnostic imaging and going more the conventional route to be able to explore what's going on with our patients. So it really does have this all-encompassing way of exploring people's health issues and getting down to the root cause of what's causing their that's what I really liked about it because it's sort of like puzzle
mhm,
it's like putting together a puzzle. And because naturopathic medicine is such a broad field, and we do have many specialists within the field. So we have people who work specifically with women's health. We have people who will do botanical medicine. There's people who
mhm,
do naturopathic counseling. It's very, very, it could be very niche or it could be very broad. And there's
mhm,
others out there who do primary care. So they'll see everyone from the babies all the way up to the grandparents doing family medicine. So it does have this all-encompassing approach to healthcare. And at Bastyr, when I did my training, it was rigorous studies. We had like 1 year of cadaver lab and dissection, and we had
mm,
all of the basic sciences, and then we had our clinical sciences, and then our internships. And I did a residency after my training, and then going into practice. So it is a very rigorous process that we go through to get trained to be able to exercise that knowledge to
mhm,
explore the cause of disease. And that's really just the core, the foundation of naturopathic medicine is this exploration of the cause of imbalances and of disease. And then, of course, removing those causes, doing our best for if getting people to change their lifestyle, trying to motivate people to participate in their health as opposed to being passive and
mhm.
taking medications and forgetting about their issues. So it's a very interactive process. And now that I think back to my 13-year-old self, I think that's what I really liked was that it was more what could I do as opposed to what is this doctor going to do to me? He's not forcing me to
Mhm.
do anything.
Mhm.
Instead, he's giving me the choice and he's giving me the tools and giving me the confidence to be able to make those choices. So I think that really works well for a lot of people.
I agree totally. I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
on the surface like, well, what medicine should be, right? Like
Uh,
finding out what is causing whatever issue and
yeah.
fixing it, as you said,
Yeah.
rather than the band-aid approach of, well, you have this symptom, we'll give you something to address the symptom. but maybe
Yeah.
not the root cause. And then you're back a few weeks later with some other symptom that may or may not be related. It never made sense to me. Like, let's find out what's wrong and fix it.
Yeah.
But so much of it might be diet. We'll get into that, but I think that
Yeah.
most Western trained doctors don't go into that part of it, right? The nutrition part of it.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding around naturopathic medicine because I think a lot of the vocabulary that we use to describe what we're doing is a bit outdated. So
Hmm.
there have been updates to the field. I think that systems of medicine like functional medicine or lifestyle medicine are basically just adaptations to modern times, taking
Hmm.
more of these antiquated terms from naturopathic medicine and making them so they're more acceptable to the modern medical community and people who really want to take a science-based approach. We're all speaking the same language, it's just using different words, different
Hmm.
vocabulary. And so
Sure.
I think that naturopathic medicine is sort of the root of all of these holistic systems that we start seeing now, like functional medicine, lifestyle medicine, and so on.
Treating the whole organism or the holistic approach rather than,
Right.
you know,
Right.
driven by symptoms.
Sure.
So you came out of medical school, you had your residency, and then what was your next role?
So I ended up so Bastyr is over in Washington State, which is West Coast, and my family's over in the East Coast. So I decided to move back to East Coast. I'm originally from New Jersey, and I moved over to Connecticut to start up a practice. And then serendipitously, this position came up at Chiva-Som. It got posted, and I didn't have many patients. I ended up, when I moved my practice, I dispersed my patients to my
Mhm.
colleagues, and then I ended up starting anew on the East Coast. And Chiva-Som posted that they needed a naturopathic doctor to come and work in the resort, and I ended up um, really thinking about what did I want to do next, and travel was actually one of the things I wanted to do. So this seemed like a really good opportunity to sort of feed two birds with one seed kind of thing. I could
Mhm.
travel as well as I could do, what I'm trained to do and what I love to do. So I ended up packing up my bags and updating my passport and heading out to Thailand. And that was going on 15 years ago. And so after when I first started, I was just a naturopathic physician. So I would see clients who would come in. They would have either nutrition consults, naturopathic consults. I also did counseling. So there was some different services I provided for those clients. And then after 2 years, I was at a crossroads again, thinking, do I continue with the career here or do I move on and do other things? And then Chiva-Som approached me and asked whether I wanted to help develop and start the research and development program. So it seemed like a good opportunity. It was a different challenge, and
Mhm.
so I took that up. And so the R&D department started up around 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And then over time, I took over as the director of research and have been doing that ever since. So about 13 years now.
So I haven't seen a wellness resort or medical resort that has a research and development arm. So what are you
Yeah.
doing, Jason, in your daily work? What are you researching and developing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So they have them. I think a lot of it falls under business development.
Hmm.
But research and development is really about monitoring the field, looking at the trends within the wellness industry. And my one of my primary jobs is filtering out some of the noise that comes along with the industry. So we know that wellness is now, sorry if I misquote it, but it's either a 7 trillion or 8 trillion US dollar industry.
Hmm.
It's very lucrative. It's easy to profit in it if you have resources and if you have a team able to provide services. It's a little bit now, we have to be very cautious because since it's so lucrative, we do get a lot of those treatments and products and services that get put to market quickly. And
Hmm.
and those may or may not serve our clients very well. So one of my jobs is to filter out the noise, the stuff that
Mm.
may not be effective. certainly filter out the stuff that's not safe, and then bring in evidence-based wellness practices that also is congruent with our philosophy. Our basic
Hmm.
philosophy is lifestyle transformation. So if it's something that will help people to be motivated to make changes in their own lives that helps with sustainable wellness, then we'll look at those treatments more. But if it's something that's really short term, short lived, it just seems to be a fad that's there to make quick money and then exit, we filter those out. We don't really welcome things like that. And even if it seems like it's highly popular or it's trending at the moment, we'll decide whether we think that it has a short-lived or a long-lived track record, and then we'll filter those out and make sure that they don't enter into our menu.
Well, that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, and it's a fun one because it gives me the opportunity to explore some of these technologies and services and to really think deeply about what we're doing for our clients. So again, going back to that, sticking with your philosophy, sticking with your ethos. If it's lifestyle transformation, just if there's something that's out there that seems shiny and it's going to be a quick profit, does it really match up with your philosophy? And I think that people appreciate that because that's delivering genuine, authentic wellness care as opposed
Hmm.
to some of the quick fixes that get put on the market in order to make profit.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the scope of Chiva-Som so people
Sure.
understand. You have somewhere between 50 and 60 accommodation rooms, I believe, but you have 70 plus spa
Yeah.
treatment rooms. That's a very interesting ratio that we don't often see. Krip Rojanistan is now the
Mm,
CEO, the son of the founder. I know
yeah.
there was a major renovation project, it's probably been 2 years now. So
Yeah.
set the stage for us with what happens, like what kinds of guests are coming and what are they expecting? How long do they stay?
Sure. Yeah, so we did the major renovations back in, I think it was 2018, 2019, which was slightly unfortunate because then we got
Mm,
into the COVID era. So we were
hmm.
closed for 6 months each period for renovations, and then we got to COVID, and then we closed a bit longer. I will give credit to our CEO Kunkrip Rojanastian because he did not let people go during that period.
Mm,
We were
mm,
very protective of the staff, and we took some cuts and did what we needed to survive during that period. But it was very important for us to keep staff and to make sure that the staff was taken care of. So we did the renovation period, opened up again, and our clients have sort of shifted over time. Back when I started in 2012, and then throughout all the way up till probably around 2018, 2019, a lot of the focus was on weight loss, detox, some of these more superficial treatments. I think people just they wanted to feel better. They wanted to work on some elements of their health. They wanted to lose a couple kilos. They wanted to feel better. You would see the occasional person with a complex health issue, and then you
mm,
would help them work through it. But for the most part, many of the people who would come to us wanted some of those surface issues addressed,
mm,
so the weight loss and detox and stuff. Around 2022, 2023, I think people became a little bit more hyper aware of their health because of COVID and what everyone went through and the fear around that. So now there's a lot of people who come to us who really want to focus on their health as well as longevity. Longevity is now the word that everyone's
hmm.
using. They want to
Yes.
live longer, but not only live longer, they want to live healthier into their older years. So we start to see that shift in the clients that come to us. Most people will come anywhere between 7 to 10 nights. We have people who will come for 2 weeks. There's the long haulers, the people who would come for 3 weeks, 1 month. They have very specific goals. So if they, you know, for example, a client wants to work on their blood sugar because they got diagnosed with pre-diabetes. That person likely would stay 3 weeks or a month to try to sort out those issues with us. If it's something, again, one of those more superficial requests like weight loss, typically a stay would be around 7 to 10 nights. Yeah.
How many staff are there, Jason?
I actually don't know the answer to that question now. It kind of changes, but we have our full-time staff and then we have our contract staff. So the people who, are with us for 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
then they can choose
Mm-hmm.
to renew. And then we have our full-time like me, who every year we just renew our contracts. But I would say it's 250 plus. It's
Mm-hmm.
above 250. And you are correct. You stated before we have 54 rooms. But we have more treatment rooms than we have guest rooms. So
Mm-hmm.
it sort of tells us where our focus is at. We provide physiotherapy and we have great facilities for that. We can do rehabilitation for sports injuries and we can work with people on improving their mobility, their flexibility, their fitness. We have some of the latest state-of-the-art equipment to do so. We have the fitness facilities. We have a full functioning spa, sauna, all those things. We have a holistic department that features the more traditional medical approaches, such as Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, a traditional Thai medicine. And then we have our nutrition, of course, able to order lab tests, look at your micronutrients, prescribe supplements. So we can do all of those things as well. We do have our aesthetics department. So for people who want to focus on skin health, we can send them along to our aesthetics. And of course, our food in our kitchen is probably one of the highlights of people's journeys while they stay here, because not only is the cuisine super healthy, but it's also delicious. And if you stay for a week, people always say, I find it hard to believe that you can rotate the food so much so it doesn't get
Mm-hmm.
boring while I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I'm trapped eating the same thing every day, and yet everything that I eat feels good. I feel energized. I feel full. I'm really enjoying the cuisine. So it's one of our highlights, and our kitchen does a fantastic job at being able to maintain the highest level of quality in our cooking practices and preparation of food.
Did the chefs have special training, like in nutrition?
So we do a combination of external training. So they'll either go to a conference or a seminar or workshop, and then we'll do in-house training. So someone like myself who has specific knowledge in nutrition will do training for them, maybe an hour, 2 hours of on a specific topic. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, when we were doing the gluten-free menu, I would teach them about what it means to be gluten free, what's the
Mm-hmm.
impact of gluten on the body, so that they get a deeper understanding of the cuisine they're offering. When we launched other menus, like we have a menu that works on gut health, we talked about what does it mean to have a healthy gut, what are some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that impact the gut. So we do a combination, and then of course they'll do their culinary training as well. So they'll go out and they'll do conferences and seminars and workshops and culinary skills.
It's funny about food, it does keep people there, right?
Yeah,
Anywhere that you are, you stay longer when there's something good to eat. And even though
yeah,
they're already staying there for a week or more, as you said, you've got 3 meals a day to feed a guest. That's
right.
21 meals. And it is
Yeah,
hard to be creative and come up with something new. So that's
yeah.
great to hear that they're focused on that.
And they have the ability to be very flexible in the needs of the guests. If a client says, I'm allergic to gluten and dairy, and I don't like tomatoes,
Hmm.
and no garlic, no onions, they are able to adapt the menus to match the needs of the client, which is something that is amazing for someone like me who's nutrition focused. Because if I have a guest, let's say I don't want them to eat nightshades,
Hmm.
tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, and I can just tell the kitchen, can you prepare the menu without these foods? And if some of those recipes have those foods in it, they will find alternatives to still make it taste good,
Hmm.
but also to support the needs of the client. So it's a very flexible system, and it's worked. Again, been here for 15 years. It's just worked miraculously for 15 years to have that freedom to to prescribe an individual diet for a client, or they could just eat the general menu, which is also have a wide selection, is delicious as well.
So, Jason, walk us through the journey of the guest who arrives at Chiva-Som for the first
Sure.
time. Do they meet with a physician? Do they come already knowing what they want? Do people show
Mhm.
up and not know what they need? Like what is typical?
Yeah, so a typical client will, I think most people now they have a general idea of what they want, although they may come in and say, I want to lose weight, so I think that I need caloric restriction and exercise. And through investigation, we might say we think it's more about stress management and your eating behaviors, not so much your caloric intake. So we'll have those discussions and then we'll put them on the right path. But when people come in, they will meet with a wellness advisor, and these advisors usually have a healthcare background. They might be a nurse or a physiotherapist or a Chinese medicine specialist. So they have this unique healthcare background that prepares them for dealing with general health issues. And then we'll do some additional training in wellness disciplines for them so that they could be prepared to answer questions outside of their field. And so when you meet with your wellness advisor, that wellness advisor will have a discussion with you. They'll go through your intake form, and then they will discuss what plan they think you could go on. And this aligns with your individual goals. So if you come in and say, I want to lose weight, but I also want to improve my sleep. The advisor's job is to figure out combinations of treatments and services that would help with achieving those goals. We have our preset plans. So if you say want to lose weight, we have a sustainable weight loss pack program. If you want to, let's say you just want to relax and rebuild yourself because you've had a stressful, couple of months, we have some program that you can come in and you can sort of just relax and go through the treatments that help with rebuilding. But all of that could be modified. So if you were to come in and say, I don't really like massage, but that's part of your program, we could change that. We could swap it
Mm.
out for something else. So the plans are very flexible and they're meant to be that way so we can personalize each plan to you. So you meet with your advisor, you'll get your plan. That advisor's with you throughout your wellness journey. So if you are here for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you'll be scheduled to see that advisor. You could see them every day if you want, but they'll usually schedule moments where they can check up on you, see how you're
Hmm.
doing, if there's anything that needs to be changed. And basically, we give you all of the tools. You're out there in the resort, you're able to join classes, you're able to just relax by the pool if you want. You can go in a sauna, you can enjoy the public facilities. But at the same time, if you need guidance, if you say, well, I really want to become more fit while I'm here, we have our personal trainers, we have our facilities that can assist with that. So it's a very comprehensive and personalized approach, but it's also not so strict that you don't have flexibility within the
Mm.
program. And we do that on purpose. And the reason is that when you go back home, we really want you to continue on this lifestyle. We don't want you to come to us and follow our strict regimented program, go back home and then say, well, now what? How do I
How do I
continue this?
maintain this?
Correct. The idea is that when you go home, you're able to maintain. And I always make a joke to my clients. I say, my job is to put me out of business because I want you healthy enough and motivated enough that you don't even need me to help guide you in your program. You already have
Hmm.
all the answers. And so it's a little bit of that preparing people so when they go home they can continue to promote their health. And that's really what wellness is about. Wellness is about sustaining your health, sustaining your well-being through the choices that we make every day.
Well said. I have just
Okay.
a few questions on that before I want to move to
Sure.
another topic. When you arrive as a client, as you call them, I like that. Do you get labs? And do you have a choice of food? And are there supplements? Are there nutritional supplements recommended?
Yeah. So we have clients that arrive from around the world and they have their medical teams at home. I've had people bring me their full laboratory reports and say, this is my numbers. Can you comment on it? Can you give me your feedback? What do you think I should do while I'm here based on my laboratory report? We will have people who have pre-existing medical conditions. They will need to be restricted in some ways. So, for example, if somebody who is recovering from a surgery will have to modify their program so that we don't cause injury or worsen their condition. If they come in and let's say they do a program that requires additional supplementation, so one of them might be the detox program, and we want them to have a bit more B vitamins during that process so that they can have liver support, they can have nutritive support for that detox process. We'll provide that for them. If we feel like there is something that they require based on laboratory work, so one of the most common deficiencies we get is vitamin D. We get the laboratory report back. We'll prescribe it. We'll give it to them and they'll be able to take that. I'm not a very big supplement provider. I
Mhm.
don't use them very often. I like to do a lot of things through nutrition, through food. But when necessary, we can do those prescriptions. And we can also
Mhm.
give advice for when they go home as well and say, you should stay on said supplement for 3 months or 6 months, or you should take a probiotic, but take these strains and take them for 3 months or 6 months. And so we'll provide that whole plan so that when they go home, they take all that information with them.
So helpful to have that because honestly, when you walk down the aisle at Whole Foods or the
Yeah,
general nutrition store, there's so many options. There are so many kinds of supplements and they all sound
yeah,
great, but
yeah,
you don't know, well, which one and how strong should it be and how long should I take it? So that sounds like really
yeah.
valuable guidance to come home with.
Yeah. And like I said, that since the field is so lucrative, lots of money to be made in wellness.
Hmm.
There's a lot of supplements out there that people are taking that I don't necessarily think are necessary or helpful. And in some cases, they could be harmful. But the good thing is, so when I meet a client, I will provide my email address, and I actually tell my clients, if you're in that Whole Foods aisle and you see something that you think is a good idea, but you're not really sure, take a photo, send it to my email. I'll comment on it. I'll tell you whether I think it's appropriate for you or not. We like to keep continuity of care. We don't want people to leave us thinking that they were just a consumer for a short period of
Hmm.
time. We really want to keep that connection. It's actually one of our strongest points of Chiva-Som is that ability to remain connected with clients, and a lot of people who come back to us, they say that's one of our strengths. They usually use the phrase, it's like coming to my second home. They have this idea that we're a trusted resource for them, we're a place they can go, that they they can pursue their wellness journey, they trust us, but also they feel like we care. And that's actually, it's a little bit silly to say, because you want to hope that all of your wellness care providers make the client feel like they care. But if somebody is coming to you for a defined period of time and they go back home, you have to go that extra mile to stay connected with them, to say, even when you're home, we're thinking about you. So again, I always tell my clients, stay in touch, update me. I like to send out, say, a 3 month, just a follow-up email just to say, how are you doing on your wellness plan? Is everything going well? What's working? What's not? Can we make some adjustments? And that way we keep that connection. And then many of our clients, they'll come back year after year. So we'll be able to do that follow up the next year, but at least keeping that continuity of care throughout the year so that they don't feel like they're left alone. And then when they come to us, then they that we feel they're important. They're important to us the whole year.
Well, that seems obvious. I mean, you're saying to them you want to show them that you care because you do.
Right.
You're going to, you're a physician who's telling people to text him, message you pictures of the
Yeah.
supplement aisle. I mean, that's a very generous offer, but
Yeah.
I think it does make people feel like, oh, okay, we just, everybody needs a health advisor that they can trust. So,
Especially now with social media, there is just so much information out there that
so
it's
much.
you need that filter. You need someone to be able to filter out the noise. So we try to provide that.
Well, it sounds like you're doing that well.
Yeah.
Jason, were you involved at all with the development of Zulal?
Yeah, so I was one of the primary builders, I would say, of it. I helped develop the conceptual framework around it, which included the traditional medical aspects. We do traditional Arabic Islamic medicine, what we call TAIM, which is one of the defining points of Zulal.
Hmm.
as well as the family wellness side of it. So
Hmm.
the idea is that we develop the resort with two sides. The one side being more of the solo journey, the person who wants to explore their wellness on an individual level. And then we have the family side, which is you bring your family along and you pursue your wellness goals together as one unit. And so when we originally took up that project, I think it was back in 2015 or 2016, that was the idea, was to create this wellness hub in the Middle East that focused on the traditions, the practices of the region, as well as this idea of family wellness, multi-generational wellness. And so, yes, I was very much involved in that development of the menu of services. I trained the first group of advisors that worked over there, and just sort of stayed in touch with the resort for advising and consulting on technologies and services that are now part of it. Now they're up and running. They're able to be more self-sufficient, so
Hmm.
they're kind of running the show themselves. But yes, that was originally my baby, and now the baby's kind of grown up.
For listeners who don't know, Zulal is in Qatar, and it is on the
Yeah,
northern tip of Qatar on the ocean. And it opened, it's only been what, 3 years maybe?
about three
About
years,
three
I
years.
think.
I
Yeah,
remember it
yeah,
was before the World Cup because
yeah.
the German team actually stayed at Zulal.
Right.
It's supposed to have amazing facilities. I haven't had the chance to visit, but I love
Yes.
the idea of the traditional Arabic and Islamic medicine. That's a generally underexplored genre, if you will, when it comes to
Yeah.
wellness.
Yeah, it's very similar to what we know about traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda. It follows basic health principles. There's nothing in it that's a mystery. It's eat well, movement,
Mm.
sleep well, focus on your digestion and your nutrition, and relationships, stress management. It's all the basics that we know that help to form and keep us healthy, but it also has some of those unique and romantic elements to things like the herbal medicine or specific treatments for the medicine, like hijama or cupping, or using specific herbs for treating constitution. So it brings a little bit of the magic into the medicine, but at the same time, it follows basic evidence-based principles for keeping people healthy.
Well, I think that globally those principles probably don't change, right? We're all
Right.
humans. We need the same things. We call it different names in different places,
Yeah.
but I think it is nice for the Middle East to have their own sort of traditions and not
Yeah.
just always be looking to Ayurveda or TCM for those things.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to follow up on the family side at Zulal because I think
Sure.
it goes hand in hand with the thing I heard you speak on at the Spot China Summit on social wellness
Yeah.
and the different needs of different age groups. And I mean, not many, I don't know of any other wellness retreats that welcome families that are built and structured for that. So could you speak a little to that orientation?
Sure. So the idea of our family is sort of our first social circle. We're born into it. It's for hopefully for many of us, it's one of our most supportive social circles. And we know this. If we are down on our luck, our family is there to lift us back up. The same with friends and to a certain extent colleagues and the people around us. But our family really is one of those social circles that's just bound to us throughout our lifetime. And so this idea of using the family to support wellness through teaching common principles within the family so that we could be supportive to each other, developing programs where the family is pursuing common goals together, where they form a family mission statement. We are going to be healthy in these ways, and these are the steps that we're going to take to maintain our
Mm.
health. It's important too, if there's a family member who is going through some sort of health crisis, that the other family members sort of are on board with that and understand what that means. How do we best support somebody who's, say, diagnosed with type 2 diabetes? How do we best support them at meal times? How do we best
Mm.
support them to follow up on their doctor visits and to get enough exercise and so on? So we wanted to create programs around this idea that the closer that we form those family bonds, that the more helpful it is for us to maintain our own health goals as well as contribute to the health goals of the family unit. A concept that I talked about in Spa China was family cohesion. This idea of this close emotional bonds and the memories that we form with each other and how that actually helps to elevate our health. And so the programs at Zulal are based a bit around that, this idea of instead of separating the family when they walk into the resort, so the kids go to the kids
Mhm.
club, the parents go to their individual massages and their treatments, the idea of sitting down with all of them and having the discussion to say, what are your goals for being here? What are your goals as a family for being here? And how can we help you achieve those goals? And when we do that, we find that families would start to get curious. They start to get interested because they encourage each other. They actually become their own best wellness advocates because they're encouraging each other to stick with their goals, or they're motivating each other through positive feedback. And when we use the family as a tool like that, we find that we can reach those sustainable wellness goals that we try to do on an individual level when we work with people in their personalized programs. I just want to mention that Chiva-Som. So Chiva-Som in Thailand for the longest time has been 16 years old and older for our guests. So 16 years was our age limit. And we've recently reduced that age limit to 14 years old because we do want to try to welcome in this younger generation so that we can have be able to have that multi-generational aspect to the programs in Thailand as well. So if we have say a 14-year-old comes in with their parents and maybe the grandparents come too, we can help to develop not only individual programs for them, but then keep them together as a family as well, have them join group classes, have them do activities together.
That's fascinating. But
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? It's if you're a young child, maybe you're 6, 8, 10, and you are with your family in this place
Mm.
that encourages wellness and wellness related behaviors, and your parents are
Yeah.
paying attention, and maybe, maybe it becomes ingrained. It's too early to say, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but we can go back in 10 years and ask the kids who came first to Zalal what the effect was.
What I find most amusing is when the kids become the sort of the police for wellness. So
Uh,
their parents are doing something and the kids go, "Wait a minute, that's not what we were taught. But you're eating this and that's not good for our health." And so again, it's that we kind of become each other's advocates and motivate each other for maintaining our wellness goals. And when you build memories around that, positive joyful memories. That sort of sticks with children. This idea of,
mhm.
oh, I remember when we went to Zulal and we had a lot of fun playing that that game and I remember my father telling me I did a really good job and so these memories sort of stick with us. They form who we are when we become adults and maybe they bring their own children as well later on and I've had the fortunate opportunity to see clients at Chivas Home here for the last 15 years and see like they'll come in the parents will come in and they'll see me 15 years ago and then I'll be seeing their teenage kids later on and you'll see that they'll bring in the family into the wellness element too because I think we want what's best for our families, right? We want everyone to be healthy, we want them to be happy. And so you'll start to see that generational inclusion into our programs and you even have like the kids bring in their parents, so the grandparents come and then the younger kids come and it becomes this whole family participation event and we really like to see that.
That is awesome, really
Yeah.
awesome. How does the social wellness aspect play out, say at Chiva-Som, where you don't maybe
Yeah.
have the kids, but you have different age groups? I mean, does your programming, is any of it oriented around encouraging social activities?
Yeah, so we of course have the group classes, although some of those group classes could be, even though people are together, they could still be individual. So you think about a yoga class, you're sort of focusing on
Hmm.
yourself and your own poses. But we do have group classes too that are inclusive. So we have participation between multiple people. and being able to promote wellness through interaction with others. We do have some visiting consultants that offer services that involve a group setting. So they'll either give a lecture and there'll be a discussion, or there'll be some activity where conversations can happen, that social aspect can happen. If it's families coming in, we will focus on the individual health aspect, but then at the same time we'll say, we think that your family would benefit from joining this program, or let's say they like golf, they're passionate about golf. We
Mhm.
have a program where you can go and you can golf with the family. So we have all these services that we can employ when people come in to try to both give them that individual focus as well as keep them together as a family throughout that process. And of course there's the meal times. So you get in the
Mm.
restaurant, you sit down, you talk about your day, you talk about the personal trainer told me I was really fit, and those
Mm.
conversations happen around the dinner table as well. So given those opportunities for people to put down the tablets, put down, because we don't allow phones and tablets in the public spaces. Put down the tablets, have conversations, be able to interact and discuss their wellness experiences. And that seems to be really beneficial for a lot of
Mm.
people who come in.
Well, we are learning so much about social engagement. We have
Yeah,
the interaction of the internet, which is cutting it weirdly, right?
yeah,
I mean, social media, but cutting down our engagement with actual humans.
yeah,
Loneliness, which you talked about in your Spot
yeah,
China presentation, how
yeah,
we combat that
yeah,
but we're in the business of providing treatments in rooms with alone people on their own.
yeah,
Those two things don't really go well together. And I think we have to work on a way to
yeah.
encourage those social activities.
And I think too that I know a lot of your listeners are in the industry, so I think from the business side, I think it makes sense to think more about social wellness, because if we're thinking about, say, booking in a resort or booking of a program, it's actually better for business if there's four, five, six people booking at once as opposed to one person booking at
Hmm.
once. So
Hmm.
from the business side, it actually is more financially feasible and makes more sense to focus on a social wellness component. And I think that too, people really enjoy that when they can welcome their friends and family into a program and they can enjoy it together. We tend to have a lot better time when we're able to interact with the people we trust, we care about, we can laugh with, we can make mistakes with, we can build memories with. And so I believe that these programs are going to become more mainstay within wellness resorts and wellness retreats. It's happening already. If you
Hmm.
read the reports through Global Wellness Institute and some of the other wellness trends reports out there, the social wellness is just becoming more and more mainstream. And I think that
Hmm.
that's just going to continue.
Well, that's all just really great to illuminate the experience at Chiva-Som and what you're doing there. So wonderful.
Sure.
I'd like to ask you a more personal question about
Okay.
social wellness. As a Jersey boy who now lives in Thailand,
Sure.
two very different social environments. How would you contrast them and how you have taken up a life in Thailand? You speak
Mm,
Thai amazingly,
mm,
very difficult language.
yeah.
How is it different for you now when you look back on your early time on the East Coast of the US?
Uh, yeah. So, number one, living in Asia, you have to learn to tone down just call it the aggressive approach in communication. It's living in Asia. There's a lot more of this passive, gentle nature to communication.
Hmm.
You have to be patient with people. If you want to communicate clearly, you have to um, take time out to be able to communicate your message, check in, make sure that it was heard. And learning a language, of course, is helpful. Although still, I have a lot to learn. There's a lot of nuances to learning Thai and being able to speak and communicate with my Thai colleagues, my Thai friends. But the great thing is, if you take time and patience to do that, people see that effort. And so that communication actually is easier than you think.
Mm.
If you really want to try to communicate your message and the person sees you're not only trying to do it in their language, but you're also trying to do it in their demeanor. You're not being
Hmm.
aggressive, you're not being forceful. It becomes a lot easier, and people recognize and appreciate that. A funny story, so I go back home every year and I visit my family in New Jersey. And when I first started going back home from being here for a couple years, I did feel a little bit like a tourist in my own
Mm.
state
Mm.
because I was not used to sort of a fast-paced, really, really short communication style. And everything from driving to interacting
Uh-huh.
with people at the store felt a little bit foreign to me when I went back because I was so used to slowing down and
Gentler
being
way.
more gentle, more
Mm.
passive. And I remember standing there in a shop one day waiting for my breakfast and interacting with the person who is preparing it and thinking, wow, I feel like I'm talking to somebody in a foreign country because I'm so used to the way that I interact with people in Asia that I'm not used to the fast pace of New Jersey, which I love. I mean, it's a different feeling, right? It's not a good or bad thing. It just feels different. But I did have to build a lot of awareness around that communication because
Mm.
if you are aggressive, if you are too short in your communications, you end up having a lot of misunderstandings, you have a
Mm.
lot of resistance, and the perceptions can change. And so learning those nuances around communication was, of course, very important to live here. And still learning, still in the learning process of that.
Well, good for you. That's a big change, New
Sure.
Jersey to
Sure.
Thailand and embracing that culture and language and all of
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
Asia, so many people who live there just can't leave. When they leave, they
Yeah.
end up going back. It's just a very nice way of life and a very beautiful part of the world.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Jason Culp, thank you again for joining us and for all the great
Sure.
work that you're doing, Director of
It's been a
Research and
pleasure,
Development at Chiva-Som. And I hope our paths cross again sometime very soon.
as do I. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.